Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the next episode of the Bay Street Capital Holdings podcast titled How'd You Do It and Why Should I Care? This series aims to highlight women doing amazing work in various industries. So today we are so lucky to be joined by Ankita Bhowmick, who is supervisor in asset planning at Hydro Ottowa. Hi, Ankita. Lovely to have you here.
Hi, Laila. Thanks for having me.
So I guess we can start off with a quick introduction. Who are you? And also an answer to the question of the podcast, which is how'd you do it and why should I care?
Well, Laila, thanks for introducing me. My name is Ankita Bhowmick, and I was born and brought up in a city called Calcutta in the eastern part of India. I am an electrical engineer by education, and I've worked in the energy sector in India for close to a decade, since 2011. I think I'm old, no? And I think last year I made the biggest decision of my life, or you can call it the biggest risk, and that was to move to Canada, leaving my job and my life in India in the middle of a pandemic. That was quite an adventure, I must say.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah. And so currently I'm heading the asset planning team at Hydro Ottowa, which is one of the biggest power utilities in Canada. And I would say what drives me every day is the fact that I contribute towards ensuring that we as a community have reliable sources of electricity, while at the same time, working hard to ensure that we are moving away from fossil fuels to renewable sources of energy, and further contributing to that larger goal of having a greener future for all of us and our future generations. So
Wow.
that's me in a nutshell.
That's so inspiring. And I guess my next question is what inspired you to join the sustainability industry and work towards this goal of yours?
I would say, Laila, I'm not, one of those people who had their life sorted. I mean, I never knew the answer to questions like, where do you see yourself in 5 years or 10 years? Like, I have always, taken life as it comes. I would say that, in school, I loved maths and physics. Like, I was very good with numbers, which led me to believe that I would do good if I pursue engineering. And so I pursued electrical engineering, and I did good at that. And right after college, I landed job offers in the IT sector and in the power utility industry in India. And I guess I thought that it would be good to have that field exposure into power systems, which is why I joined the utility industry in India. And then there has been no looking back after that.
That's awesome. So, what would you say were your best resources? I know you mentioned that you studied at university and electrical engineering. So, I guess what helped aside from that degree?
I would say the best resources that have helped me in my journey would be people, like
Mhm.
lots of people. Maybe I would want to talk about, like, two groups. Probably one would be, everyone who believed in me, believed in my skills, my ambitions, be it in my organizations that I worked for or beyond, my friends. And they've constantly challenged me to, do better. So that's one. And the other person that I really want to talk about is my partner. So we've known each other for long. So we've known each other since school. We've dated for 10 years, and then we got married 5 years back. So we've practically grown up together, And I believe that while we try to achieve our goals, it's very important to have someone as your sounding board. And somewhere I think me and my partner, we both have been that sounding board for each other. We've constantly challenged each other to do better, be it professionally or personally. So yeah, I think those are the people who've really helped me along the way.
Awesome. So, were there any lessons that you wish you would have known before joining the sustainability industry? I know you mentioned you spoke to a lot of people and you had a lot of exposure before you entered as well.
Right. I would say very early on in my career, I realized that working in the utility sector or the electricity industry was considered to be a man's job, which meant that I had to constantly challenge a lot of status quo, break stereotypes, and in that journey, I feel the lesson that would have helped me is to never be afraid to voice your opinion, and earn that seat at the table. It's okay to fail, it's okay to make mistakes, but it's not okay to give up. And I think in that process, I've become a stronger person. So yeah, that's something, I would say, that's a lesson. If I knew earlier, probably I would have done a little better than what I did.
It's good that you learn from it now and you can carry it forward into your career. That's cool. So what advice would you give to somebody then who is wanting to pursue a career similar to yours?
I would say two things. One would be to not lose sight of the bigger picture as to, why you want to do what you want to do. What's your motivation? And let me tell you, motivation doesn't come in a day. It's organic, but you need to know why you're doing it. And the other thing I would say is to never stop learning. Because I see that especially the energy sector, it's evolving by the day, and there are loads of changes that's coming, like with countries moving committing to net zero targets. We are seeing that that global shift towards renewable sources of energy, movement from a centralized generation to distributed generation, or if you talk about EVs or the electrification of transportation sector. So loads of exciting things happening, right? And so it's very important to keep upskilling yourself to keep yourself relevant. Like I have loads to learn, like keep learning every day, and that's the beauty of it. So yeah, those are the two advice I would give.
And finally, sort of about your career, what is one common myth that you would like to debunk about the energy and sustainability industry?
I would say, Laila, growing up, I've heard a lot about sectors like, the banking sector and the financial sector, maybe retail and advertising. Like those were the sexy sectors to work for. But, I think we've always seen the energy sector as something which is very primitive, and that's the myth that I want to debunk. That if you see the energy sector, like in the last decade, it has evolved so much, and we are seeing so much of exciting changes coming up in the next decade or two. Like if you see Will's post on LinkedIn, like he keeps talking about what are the new things happening, right? So it's a very exciting sector to work in, and I can tell you that I love working in this sector. So yeah, that's the myth that I want to debunk, that energy sector is also sexy enough.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I'm sure you're very busy obviously at the moment with your work, but during your free time, what have you read or listened to recently that's really inspired you?
Oh well, Laila, I must tell you, I have not done some serious reading in quite some time, and I'm guilty for that because, maybe a couple of articles here and there, but not serious reading. I really need to put in time there. And thanks for that reminder. But maybe I would want to talk about an interview that I saw, some days back, and it's really, held on to me. So this interview was of Indra Nui. It's a dated interview. I think it was back in 2014 when she was the chairman and CEO of PepsiCo. And in that interview she talks about how she was born in a very conservative South Indian Brahmin family in India, and then how she moved to US to study at the Yale School of Management, and then ultimately becoming the chairman and CEO of PepsiCo. So quite an impressive journey, right?
Yeah.
She also spoke about how she worked on making PepsiCo a very environmentally conscious company, a company with a strategic direction of performance with purpose. Like, awesome, right? Performance with purpose. And lastly, the best part of the interview that I liked was, where she said that she believes that women can't have it all. I mean, she literally said that women can't have it all.
Yeah.
And she said that how for a woman, like our career clock and our biological clock are in complete conflict with each other. And then she goes on to mention how when she was building her career, she had her kids conflict. When she was moving into middle management, her kids became teenagers and wanted her. conflict. So, and then, she would talk about how she used coping mechanisms and, or made tough choices to deal with it. I mean, it was an amazing interview. Like, Laila, you must watch it.
Yes, it sounds like I should. And it seems like you touched upon this a bit earlier and you've named some people, but who are 3 people in your life who have been the most influential to you?
Well, I would say that, I've been grateful enough to have people who've, helped me build the foundation of who I am today. And when I talk about that, the first place obviously goes to my family. My parents who've worked hard all their lives to, provide quality education to me and pretty much anything and everything that I asked for. And they've always inspired me to, dream bigger and dream higher. So if I'm very ambitious and I'm very career oriented, and that's only because of my parents. And then there's my brother who's my constant critique and sometimes annoyingly so. But yeah, so the first place goes to my family. The other person that really comes to mind would be my physics teacher. So he passed away in 2017. He's no more, but I'm sure if he was around, he would have been the happiest to listen to this podcast. But I think it was because of him that I started loving science, or STEM as you would call it, and he would beautifully correlate science with the deeper philosophies of life. Like, as we all know, that any great invention, be it scientific or social, has come from philosophy, right? And this one thing which he always kept saying was, while we all keep complaining to God about our little wants in life, God is busy fixing and structuring the acceleration due to gravity at 9.8 meters per second square. If it wavered even by a bit, then probably we wouldn't be here on Earth, right?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of conversations I used to have with him, and he's definitely had a big influence on my life.
That's so cool. And then finally, to round off our conversation, what is one piece of advice that you wish you gave yourself at any point in your life?
I would say it would be that, not to be too hard on yourself. Like, while I have been fighting to achieve my goals, there has been multiple times when I have compromised on my mental health, and that is not okay. It's important to realize that we have to take one step at a time. You can't change the world in a day or a year or 10 years, but the key is to not give up. Like, especially when I see, during this pandemic, which has disrupted our lives in more ways than one, there's this focus on mental health, and which is a welcome change. Like, just the other day, I was reading about Naomi Osaka, who withdrew from the French Open, citing mental health issues. I mean, it's such a brave and a bold move to, prioritize self-care above anything and everything else, and so it's, that's the advice I would give myself, to take a step back and take care of yourself. Everything else will follow.
Exactly, everything will fall into place. And what a lovely note to end on. Thank you so much, Ankita, for talking with me today. It was lovely to hear your story and to learn more about you.
It was a pleasure chatting with you too, Laila.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.